Hello, we are live again from the Wisconsin Sports Heroics Facebook page, the Wisco Fanatics Facebook page, and this week is our first week live also on the Wisco Fanatics YouTube page. So for any of you watching on Facebook that know people that like to talk about Wisconsin sports but don't have Facebook, we are now also on YouTube, so people that don't have Facebook can watch on YouTube so they can join the discussion as well, like we like to encourage people to do on Facebook. So we're just we're working on getting stuff so that more people can get in on the discussion and more people can enjoy the show. More people can tell their friends about the show, that it's not just on Facebook anymore, that it's on YouTube. We want to get to a point where we have audio where people can listen to this show the way that they would with any other podcast. It's just that we started with Facebook because that's what we kind of worked with. So that's where we're at right now. With our show, one of the things that we have, if you don't follow us on the Wisco Fanatics page, if you're tuning in from the Wisconsin Sports Heroics page, make sure to follow us on Wisco Fanatics to get the updates on the pie bet. The first one that we did was for March Madness. That was a lot of fun. Jake got a pie in the face. And if you follow the Wisco Fanatics page and saw the previous pie bet, the new one that we have is for the NBA playoffs. Jake and I both made brackets for the NBA playoffs. Mm-hmm. And our biggest point of contention in those brackets was the Suns-Lakers series. Jake has the Lakers winning that series and eventually the championship. And I have the Suns winning that series and eventually losing the championship to the Bucks. But if Phoenix wins that series, Jake, you're going to be getting another pie in the face.
Yeah, man. I mean, if it means the Bucks winning a title, I'll take 1,000 pies to the face. I ain't scared. Just won't let my dad do it this time. I'll probably have my girlfriend do it, but I'll have to make sure she's in a good mood that day.
Yeah, I don't want to get slammed in the face with another pie like you did last time.
I told you to.
So, like I said, if you don't already follow us on Wisco Fanatics, go check that out. You can check out our brackets and be ready for the upcoming pie bet, which hopefully it's Jake getting another pie in the face. We are going to jump into it. We are going to get to the Bucks Nets and the Bucks Heat, but really quick, I just want to mention the Wisconsin Badgers introduced their new athletic director, Chris McIntosh, today. He's a former Wisconsin lineman. He was on the 2 Rose Bowl teams in the late 90s. He was a captain for the team. He's been working with Barry Alvarez as like an assistant to the athletic director since 2017. So he was introduced today as the new athletic director. And then the Badgers welcomed in a new transfer recruit from Clemson. His name is Ches Malusi. He is a running back. He was a former 4-star recruit, and he is coming to Wisconsin. So that'll be a new name to keep an eye on this coming fall. But we are going to jump into Bucks Heat. Jake, let's talk about Game 3 first. Then we'll talk Game 4, and then we're going to talk the series as a whole. All right, let's start with Game 3. What do you got from Game 3?
First of all, welcome everybody. Hope everybody had a great week. I know if you watch the Bucks and you're a Bucks fan, you had a great week. It made me going to work a lot easier, knowing we were just basically sleeping and waiting for the Nets to beat up on the Celtics. But Game 3 was legitimately, in my eyes, it felt like Game 2. It was just a replay. We beat the hell out of them, man. We shot the ball well. We played defense. We controlled the boards. We did everything. We were the better team on the floor. I mean, I'm going to leave the stats to you for this game because I know you have them all written down. I didn't even ask you. I just know you do. But I wrote something down for both games. So something that I wrote down for both games was Robinson and Hero's combined stats. Because, other than, Jimmy's Jimmy, he's their best player. He's going to get his stats. Bam controlled the boards last year. And this year, I thought that Brook Lopez, Giannis, the team collectively did a great job controlling the rebounds. And Robinson and Hero were the only 2 players left, after Bam and Jimmy, that I was like, okay, these guys, and Robinson had a great Game 1, and they were in that game, right? So in Game 3, Robinson was 1 for 6, 0 for 4 from 3. Tyler Hero was 4 for 10, 1 for 5 from 3. So that makes them a combined 5 for 16 and 1 for 9 from 3. If they don't get production out of those 2, they're not really doing much. And did you hear that Duncan Robinson news? His quote he said the other day?
No, I didn't.
He talked because he's going to be a potential free agent. So he was talking about, things that would match up well for him as a free agent. He wanted a winning culture. That was the number one thing. He said money never hurts. And, just fit. He wants a team that's going to accept him. And a couple fans threw it out there. I was on Instagram. I was everywhere on this quote, looking at all the social media sites. And a lot of Bucks fans are out there chirping, saying, let's bring this boy in. And I'm thinking, man, wouldn't that be some poetic justice, man? Bring in a Duncan Robinson so we can kill the Heat next year.
So for game 3, give me the Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero stats again. Their combined field goals.
Their combined field goals was 5 for 16.
Okay. Now add in Dragic, 3 for 14. That makes those 3 players a combined 8 for 30.
Yeah.
In game 3.
Not good.
That's rough. And Miami only scored 84 points. So give credit to the Bucks defense. Tim, I see you in the comments again. Welcome. Thanks for watching again. So a combined 8 for 30 from those 3. Those 3 were the biggest problem for the Bucks last year in this series against the Heat. So the Bucks, their defense was a really, really big key for me in this series. And it's a reason that gives me a lot of optimism for this upcoming Nets series, which we're going to get into that. But one thing I wanted to highlight was Drew Holiday's plus minus from this game. Did you see what it was?
No, tell me.
Plus 41.
Yeah,
he only scored 19 points. He had 19 points, 3 rebounds, 12 assists, which the assist thing is really, really big. And then when you factor in that he only had 2 turnovers to go with his 12 assists, like his assist to turnover ratio in the series, just nuts. But yeah, and then his defense has been just, honestly, it's been awesome. He's been going over screens. He's frustrating ball handlers. And yeah, he finished plus 41 in that game. Chris Middleton, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. He finished plus 26. And then Giannis, 17, 17, and 5. 13 points, Brook Lopez, 11 points, Bryn Forbes, 11 points, Bobby Portis, 9 points, Pat Connaughton. So unfortunately, the Bucks did lose Dante for the playoffs in this game. He's got a hurt tendon in his foot. Right now, they're calling it a left foot contusion. But you said something, and it perfectly fits into this stat that I want to give, is between games 2 and 3, which you said they're mirroring each other. Game 2 and 3, so 96 total minutes in those 2 games. The Bucks led for 93 minutes and 49 seconds of those 96.
That's insane, dude.
2 minutes and 11 seconds Miami led in those 2 games combined.
We beat the brakes off them boys. That wasn't even close. It wasn't even close.
Held them to 14 points in the first quarter, 36 points at halftime. I mean, the defense has been, as exciting as the offense has been with the Bucks, like the defense it's damn good.
Dude, Brook Lopez is a monster right now. He is feasting in the paint on offense and defense. Feasting.
I gave you that stat last week that in games 1 and 2, when Brook Lopez was in the game, Miami's effective field goal percentage went down by 10%.
He's gonna have to protect the paint this next series, but we'll get to that.
Yes, sir. So do you have anything else for game 3?
Nah, I have their field goal percentage. The Heat shot 37%, and they shot 28% from 3, 9 of 32 from 3-point line. So that gives me a lot of hope. The Heat they look tired. They look tired. They look sluggish. They didn't look motivated. And I want to say some of that has to do with them being in the finals last year and the short break and then playing the season. But I also want to give credit to the Bucks of we're just ripping the spirit out of these guys. That's honestly how I felt. I felt like they knew they couldn't beat us. Whenever we needed a run, we made a run. Whenever we needed a rebound, we would grab the rebound. So
when we get to this series as a whole, I want to give Budenholzer some credit. But like I said last week when we were previewing games 3 and 4, that the thing that we needed to do was get off to a fast start.
Yep. Because
Miami went 0 to 100. They went full stadium, and the Bucks needed to just neutralize that, the potential energy that they would get from that, and they definitely did that. So let's go to game 4. Sweated this one out a little bit. It felt like it was going to be a little bit more like game 1 than it was games 2 and 3. But yes, Brad, I agree with you. Toughness over Hollywood, and the Bucks definitely have some toughness this year.
Yes,
definitely more than they did last year. But game 4, what did you see from game 4 that stood out to you?
Game 4, man. Okay, first of all, I was at work for the first half, so I missed the first half. And the Bucks were just kind of hanging around first half. So I was texting Tyler, and Tyler was my eyes and ears for the first half. And the Bucks took off in the second half. So you know what I was telling people, that the Bucks just waited for me to get home to actually play real basketball, and that made me feel good. No, but all seriousness, man. I mean, they held Jimmy down. I feel like Jimmy's best game was probably game 3, where he had 19, 8, and 6, 7 of 17. In this game 4, he was 12, 10, and 10, 4 of 15. Ay. What?
I got some stats for you about Jimmy.
Yeah. Bam, 20 and 14. I mean, the Heat, I just gave you their field goal percentage and 3-point percentage from game 3. Game 4, they were 40 and 91, 11 of 33 on threes. So they shot 33% from the 3-point line at 44% overall. Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Remember, I told you I wrote down their stats for both games. Game 3, I told you they were 5 of 16. Game 4, they got better, but they didn't get better. They made one more field goal, and they shot one more field goal. So they were 6 of 17 and 3 of 11 from 3. And I wanted to mention one more thing. Well, I got 2 more things, actually. The first one is, you remember Dwayne Dedman was their leading scorer game 2?
Yeah.
Talked about how, Reggie Miller said that, and that was a problem. Game 3, he had 4 points. You know how many points he had in game 4?
4?
0. He had 0 points. He did all of his scoring. Hey, what's up, Brandon? Thanks, buddy. He had 0 points in game 4. So he was a non-factor. He just had a fluke game while we were kicking their butt. And it is what it is. But I wanted to say Brent Forbes was 7 of 15. He missed his 1 2-point field goal because he was 7 of 14 on 3. And my favorite play of the whole game, I stood up and I yelled with Giannis, was his dunk at the end when he's screaming and he's ripping it down and he's screaming with the entire city of the freaking 414, and it was just amazing, dude. I felt so powerful in that moment.
I watched that video. I watched that clip a few times, actually.
Me too, man.
Did you see Tyler Hero's face in the background when Giannis is coming down from his dunk? He's just standing there like, he had the most unenthusiastic look on his face that he could possibly have. That's just like, yep, we're going to be going home. Yeah. And for me, it was when they took their first lead in the third quarter, I was like, oh, yeah, once they let the Bucks get the lead, I'm like, the Bucks aren't looking back. And Brad, you're getting ahead of us. We're going to recap the whole series. We're going to get there, Brad. I got some stuff for you.
Brad's got his stuff, man.
All right. So for me, something that really stood out was for game 4 was the offensive rebounding. A lot of players got in on this, and it's one of those things where when somebody questions what PJ Tucker is doing on this team, well, A, you're about to see it in this upcoming series. B, you saw it in this series when Giannis and PJ Tucker were guarding Jimmy Butler. He was like 2 of 19 on field goals in the series. It was pretty rough going for Jimmy Butler. Now, there was one possession where the Bucks got 5 shots before making a bucket. They had 4 offensive rebounds, and then they got a shot and they made it. PJ Tucker, Drew Holiday both had 4 offensive rebounds each in this game. So that's something, the 15 offensive rebounds that just leapt off the page for me. This was also Giannis's first career playoff triple-double in this game. He had 22, 12 rebounds, and 15 assists because Miami finally just sat back and they said, okay, we're going to let anybody but Giannis beat us. And Giannis turned it into passing out to Brent Forbes, knocking down a whole bunch of threes. He finished with 22 points. Bobby Portis finished with 13 points. And then Brook Lopez, game 4. He could have almost been the MVP of the game for game 4. 25 points and 8 rebounds.
Do I know what Brook just got today?
What did he get today?
He was voted by Bucks fans as the player of the month for the month of May. My man Brook.
We talked about it. We said that this is the best that he's played coming into the playoffs since he's been in Milwaukee.
Man, my man's is balling.
All right, so let's see what else. The other thing that Drew Holiday also added to his somewhat unimpressive looking stat line was he added 4 steals. So he's harassing ball handlers and just making it hard for guys to score. So the second half scoring is the last thing I want to highlight before we talk about the series as a whole. And the second half, Milwaukee outscored Miami 63-39 in the second half. Outscored them by 24 points in the second half. That to me is a championship caliber team closing a series right there.
Yes. I got one more thing to say, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So we talked about it in game 2 where Drew, we were really impressed with his passing because he had 15 assists. And I mentioned how Holiday was the 5th Buck ever to have a 15 assist playoff game. In game 4, Giannis became the 6th Buck ever. And that happened in the same series. And his ball movement for a guy, his passing ability, playmaking ability for a guy who's 6'11" is ridiculous. And for everybody that harps, I just want to take a moment real quick. I wanted to say this. I wrote this down. I said, speech about Giannis. It says it right there on the paper. For everybody who harps on Giannis, I want you to understand that this man is 26 years old. He is 26. Now, for anybody who's above 26 or maybe in your 30s, I want you to think about how much you've improved as just a human being since you were 26. Giannis has that much time to improve as a basketball player. And he's already shown it this year. I've said it on this show that he's been working on his mid-range, and now he's got that filthy post fade. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to get so many foul calls from that. And I don't care if he shoots 68%. He's putting a lot of stress on the defense because now they're like, I want him to get a little pump fake and then do a step through because you know what's going to happen then? He's going to dunk on your head. And that's what I want to see. So Giannis is absolutely amazing. We are absolutely lucky to have him. I wanted to mention his 15 assists because that is incredible for a 6'11" guy.
All right, I lied. I did have one more thing about Game 4 before we talk about the series, and that was Trevor Ariza, who really hasn't been a factor on offense or defense. I know I went on a rant last week about it, talking about him versus Chris Middleton because they were free agents in the same summer. He scored 11 points. 11 points in the first quarter. Didn't score again the rest of the game.
Dude, Trevor Ariza hasn't been a factor since like 2010, bro.
So this to me, when people are talking about adjustments and Coach Bud doing things, this is I see you in the comments, Tim. Ryan, I will answer your question in a second. Trevor Ariza, Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, like none of these guys were knocking down threes except for Duncan Robinson in game 1. Was it? So for anybody who's still worried about the Bucks defending the 3-point line, this series, these all 4 games outside of the first basically 10 minutes of game 1 when Duncan Robinson had 15 points in the first quarter, like aside from that, like this series just showed the Bucks can defend the 3-point line, and Budenholzer has made that adjustment. So when we spent all of March, all of April, most of May talking about context mattering and what the rotations are going to look like, and Giannis is saying building good habits. These are the things that are now applying, and we're seeing it happen. It's now being put into action. It's not just they're working on this, they're working on that. Their 3-point defense is still bad. It's really come together at the right time, and that's what we're looking at going forward. And we're gonna. I just want to take a real quick pause to answer Ryan's question about if Rodgers is staying or leaving. Ryan, what I would suggest is you go back to last week's episode. We had Matt Ramaj on, and we talked about the Packers for a good hour. Just to give you a really quick summation of that, we all think Rodgers is staying and playing for the Packers this year is pretty much where we're at.
I mean, but and he wasn't traded, so
yes, and that's like I said, I would encourage you to go watch last week's episode because we had a lot of fun having Matt Ramaj talk to us about the Packers.
That was he's a cool dude.
So let's move to the series as a whole. We got some good stats. We got some good stuff that came out of this series before we jump into preview. But let's talk about the series as a whole. Go ahead.
Series as a whole, man. Well, I wish I would have kept my receipts like the Bucks did, and it got shown on there on ESPN. Series as a whole, man, with everything that I've written down in my notebook here about the stats, about Middleton's game winner. We had a grind out win in game 1. Game 2, we spanked them. Game 3 was the same thing. Game 4 was a little bit of us kind of not taking them seriously. We thought they were going to lay down, and then we really just turned it up, in the second half. Series as a whole, I didn't know what word to write, but I'm just going to say impressed. I'm impressed with how the Bucks look. Their defense is a total 180 from the regular season. But now you can see that Bud has improved as a coach, where he was testing things out. And, it's credit to you for pointing that stuff out. We were messing around with zone defenses, messing around with rotations, messing around with, let's run this play for this guy. And, the one time when we were talking on here and we pointed out Dante running the pick and roll, that was something that I was excited about because I was like, now we're letting Dante be the playmaker. So now it's another, it sucks that he's gone because me and you love Dante. We know his impact on the court.
Yep.
But it's amazing. The Bucks have a chance, man. And now with this news, if nobody knows, there was news that came out today about Joel Embiid, torn meniscus. So now if you're a Bucks fan or you're a Nets fan, either or, you're looking at this series and you're like, this is the real Eastern Conference Finals. Because I'm sorry, the 76ers might be able to scrape past the Atlanta Hawks. Because the Hawks
then honestly, that depends more on Atlanta than Philadelphia in my eyes.
I agree. But you're looking at this series and you're like, dude, if we win this, we're about to clobber the next team that we play. Because the Hawks ain't messing around with none of these teams for real, bro. Regular season, when we're resting.
Honestly, if you ask me about it, honestly, the Hawks are like the great value Nets. Like they're going to try to beat you with offense and not play defense.
Well, I just don't think they have the ability to play defense. Where the Nets are just lazy, in my opinion.
All right, so a couple things. I did not expect this to be a sweep. Teams up 3-0 in the playoffs are 141-0 now that the Bucks have finished that series off. The fact that teams are going to – I don't know that the Nets are going to try to do this, but if you try to defend Brook Lopez with a guy who's anything shorter than 6'10", like it's not going to go well for you. Like you're going to get Dirk Lopez or you're going to get fouls, and he shoots like 84% at the free throw line. So you don't want to foul Brook Lopez because he knocks them down. Please, 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 Brooklyn, continue to leave Bryn Forbes open. He has earned, lived up to, and exceeded the flamethrower nickname that he's gotten now. So please continue to leave Bryn Forbes open. Mm-hmm. And we told you before this playoff series started that last year does not mean a damn thing. These teams are both different. It showed. I was thinking Bucks in 5 because I thought the Heat would take one of the 2 games in Miami. That didn't even happen. If you had asked me before the series started, is Coach Bud going to out-coach Eric Spoelstra? I probably would have said no. But it happened. Budenholzer was the better coach in this series. I firmly believe that. If you look at just defensive adjustments and offensive adjustments, the Bucks were better in both. They really were. So that's where I'm at with that. Brad mentioned it in the comments earlier that Bryn Forbes actually outscored Jimmy Butler in this series. And I have some interesting Jimmy Butler stats here for you. Over the entire series, he shot 29.7% on field goals.
But he's better than Drew Holiday.
Not even a little bit. The other thing with Jimmy Butler, this is the first series he didn't have a 20-point game since 2014.
Whoa.
He didn't have a single 20. He didn't have a single 20-point game, and he actually got to the free throw line. Like he got to the free throw line a decent amount in this series, and he wasn't even able to turn that into 20 points.
No,
the Bucks really, really, really put the clamps on Jimmy Butler.
It's amazing.
So that's definitely some cause for optimism there when we're talking about matching up with a team that's got 3 superstars on it, or 2 superstars and Kyrie. So what else do you have from the series as a whole?
Well, Not much, man. Looking forward to Tyler Hero's next rap video.
He was 12 for 38 this series. The entire series, he was 12 for 38.
Dude, he needs to do some soul searching because, to be completely honest, man, he looked like he didn't enjoy basketball. He looked like he was collecting a paycheck. Just going to be completely blunt about that.
Yeah, it seems like the fame hit him pretty quick.
Yeah.
So, a couple of things that I want to highlight really quick. I did take all the averages for the big three for the entire series. This includes game 3, which all of the starters checked out halfway through the fourth quarter. Chris Middleton, 21, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Drew Holiday, 15 points, 6 rebounds, 9 3/4 assists. And Giannis, 23 points, 15 rebounds, and 8 assists. And then over the entire series, Brook Lopez, just under 16 points. Bryn Forbes averaged 15 points. Bobby Portis, just under 11 points a game. When we're talking about this series preview, that's the kind of stuff I'm going to refer to just because I have a reason for why I believe that the Bucks are going to win this series. But last thing that I have on Bucks Heat is games 2, 3, and 4. The combined points by which the Bucks won by was 80. In 3 games, the Bucks won by a combined 80 points.
That is insanity.
That's over 25 points a game.
Jeez.
Margin of victory. That's just crazy.
Man, we were smacking the boys around.
So let's talk Bucks Nets. Like I said, some of that stuff that we talked about in the recap is what gives me some reason for optimism here. And that's why I want to talk about this series, because game 1 will be Saturday at 6:30, and then game 2 likely will be Monday. And then game 3 coming to Milwaukee. There'll likely be 2 days of travel in there. So game 3 will likely be next Thursday. For the Wisco Fanatics show, we are moving just for next week to next Friday. So we will have 3 games in between today's preview, and then we will talk games 1, 2, and 3 next week and preview the rest of the series next Friday. But let's talk about it. Let's talk Bucks and Nets. Kick it off.
Man, I don't even know where to start, man. I got so many stats. I'm going to start with this. So I wrote down the playoff stats for the Nets and the Bucks. And I wrote down the points, the field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. And I just went with those main ones because this is going to be a lot of offense versus offense, because everybody wants to talk about the Nets offense, right? But they disrespect our offense. You know, and I wrote down the defense guarding that stuff too for both teams. So the Nets, they scored 123.4 points per game. The Bucks, 118.5. That's with us pulling our starters because we're smacking the hell out of the Heat. The Nets gave up 112 to an injured Celtics team. The Bucks,
50 to Tatum.
Right. The Bucks gave up 98 points. That was first. That's first in the playoffs right now. The Nets shoot 49%, give up 43. Bucks shoot 46, give up 39. Again, field goal percentage, first among all playoff teams. The Nets shoot 42% from 3. That is amazing. 42%. They give up 35. The Bucks are only shooting 32%. We had that really, really bad.
Game 1, yep. Game 1 will skew that.
And we gave up 33. So, I mean, we're still playing defense, but we had that poor shooting game 1. Yep. So that's where I'm sitting at with that. I'm sure everybody saw this stat about we tied for the most combined points between the two offenses. We tied an NBA record. It was the other team we tied was Denver and Utah, I believe, in like 1984 at 238.7. That is a lot of points, man. It's a lot of points. I wrote down the stats for all the players. We can get to that later. I wrote down the top 3 bench contributors for each team. So, in my opinion, the top 3 contributors off the bench for the Nets is going to be Joe Harris. Now, Joe Harris is a starter. I wrote down others. Joe Harris, Blake, and Jeff Green are the top 3 others, other than the big 3 for the Nets. And the top 3 for the Bucks, obviously, is Giannis, Drew. The 3 most important players I wrote down in this series, other than those 3, is PJ, Bobby, and Forbes. I'm sure you'll agree with that.
Yep.
I'm going to wait to bring out my big stat, because I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to ask you a question.
All right. So you kind of mentioned something that I wanted to mention, and that's Joe Harris.
Yep.
He's basically the X factor for this series as far as Brooklyn is concerned. The Bucks have a few different ways they can go with this, strictly because Brooklyn is not a great defensive team. And honestly, when they made the trade for James Harden, they gave away all their depth.
Yeah.
So they are not a deep team. So, if Brooklyn wins game 1, do not freak out. If the big three of KD, Harden, and Kyrie are going to be playing 40 minutes a game, like they could easily tire out early in this series, because going up against the Bucks, who we just talked about being a physical team, Brooklyn is not a physical team. And honestly, if they don't have KD guarding Giannis, they have no chance to stop Giannis. DeAndre Jordan's too slow. Blake Griffin is too slow and too soft, and Giannis babies him every time the Bucks play against him. Blake will act like he's tough, but Giannis still just babies him every single time they play.
He ain't tough
every time.
He falls on the ground and he cries every time.
He's muscular. He's not tough. There's a difference.
Yeah, he's got those SpongeBob muscles.
So for me, basically the big three, they're gonna get theirs. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get theirs.
They just broke a record against the Celtics.
They combined for like 90 points.
85.
But if you can hold Joe Harris to say 10 points, and Jeff Green he's not a scorer. The only time he's gonna score is if he's camped in the corner and he gets a wide open three. Blake Griffin is not a scorer anymore. DeAndre Jordan's not a scorer. They have a couple guys on the bench, some backup guards, but like those guys, they're not there to score. They're there to give breaks to the big three.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, you let the big three get their 90 combined points a game and you limit their role players. I mean, that's honestly a recipe for success if you think about it, because what you're doing is then you're bringing down the team's average by not letting Joe Harris sneak up on you and then be like, whoa, Joe Harris had 25 points in that game? That's the kind of thing that really hurts the Bucks. Had Brad ask a question, over under on how many cheap shots Blake attempts.
Probably be around the same number as Dragic did to Chris Middleton.
Dude, I heard a rumor about something that Chris Middleton said to Dragic. I don't want to bring it up because I don't know if it's true or not, but
I want to know.
I will text you after the show because I want to make sure that it was true before I put it out there.
Okay.
But over under on cheap shots that Blake takes, I'd say probably 2. And if the Bucks go up, say 2-0 or even 3-0 in this series, then I would probably raise that number a bit, because Blake Griffin, he's not really a composed player. He really isn't. Kevin Durant, I would say, is cool under pressure. Harden has never really been under pressure because he's never made a deep playoff run because his singular style of basketball.
Finals.
Kyrie's, I would say, is good under pressure, but Blake Griffin, he's not a composed professional.
Dude, I'm so annoyed with Kyrie, bro. He makes everything. Oh my god, he makes everything political. It's like, oh, we're uniting the world. Everybody stay with us with this run in the playoffs. Shut up, Kyrie, bro. And then he wants to act all innocent when that guy threw a bottle at him, which is not. I mean, I'm not saying that that's right, because that's not right. We shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't be throwing stuff at him and all that. But come on, Kyrie, you gonna act like you're innocent, like you didn't just stomp on the logo and bring all this attention? Yeah, exactly. Just play ball. I agree, man. Like, dude, you're out there. It's an entertainment, right? And people complain all the time how much money they make. Sorry, I'm just going crazy because I've been seeing so many comments on it. Just go play basketball, dude. We're paying hundreds of dollars to watch you dribble the ball and do what you do because he's amazing at what he does. We're not paying you millions of dollars to talk about politics and do all this, and we're uniting the world. You ain't uniting nothing, okay? Nobody's following you in your third eye and the world's flat, you weirdo.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have any problem with it if it wasn't coming from somebody who's kind of hypocritical about it. Like, didn't you just take Didn't you just take like 20 games off from your team and just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go do my own thing for 3 weeks, and maybe I'll be back.
Yeah, one time he was out for like his sister's birthday or something like that. Oh yeah, that must be nice. I wish I could just take off my sister's birthday.
See you guys in 3 weeks.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that's if it wasn't Kyrie saying something like that, I wouldn't have as much of a problem with it. As far as the whole uniting the world thing, like dude, like really, it's just your fans and fans of the players on your team that are cheering for you.
Yeah.
Everybody else hates your team.
I'm all with
because of the way that it's been put together.
It ain't gonna be Kyrie doing it. That's all I'm saying. We can get back to basketball. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, Kyrie is definitely the third best player on that team.
Oh, I'd agree 100%. I mean, if Durant couldn't shoot from 40 feet, I would argue that Harden is the best player on that team. But Durant, because he's bigger, is better in my opinion.
And out of the three of them, he's the best defender.
Yeah, just because he's tall. That's literally it. He's
tall, and he's athletic.
If he was small, he'd get baby, dude. He's too weak to be that damn big. That's my opinion.
All right, I'm gonna throw something out here. This just popped into my mind. Let's say Kevin Durant was 6 inches shorter. What player do you think he would be? I have one player in mind that makes me think of.
Okay, so he's like officially listed at like 6'11", right?
Yeah.
Even though he's definitely taller than Boogie Cousins, who's listed at 7 feet, but whatever. Man, that's tough. Who would he be?
I have one guy in mind. He's in the playoffs right now. He scores a lot.
Mine's probably gonna be different, but I got one. I'm gonna say CJ McCollum.
All right, I'd give him the same player or same team. I mean, but a different player.
Oh, Damian.
If he was 6 inches, I would say Dame. He's like Damian Lillard. That's what he is, but he's 6 inches taller.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I gave him CJ because I think Dame's an elite playmaker along with being able to score, and I don't see Durant as an elite playmaker in my eyes, where CJ can still score. He can still shoot, he can still score, create his own shot, all that stuff.
That's fair. So, I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, Durant is the best defender out of those three because he's the tallest and he's athletic. So this is all of this stuff that I've been talking about since the series recap of the Miami Heat series leading up to now. The reason that I think the Bucks will win this series, and I'm saying Bucks in 7 because I think basically everybody wants this to be the longest possible series. Like you said, Jake, this is basically the Eastern Conference Finals because whichever team wins this series is honestly probably winning it all. I really don't see. I don't know if maybe Phoenix could take out Brooklyn if the Nets got to the finals, but whichever team wins this series is going to the finals. Whichever team wins this series is winning the East. I think it's going to be the Bucks in 7 games because what I believe is that the Bucks offense is closer to Brooklyn's offense than Brooklyn's defense is to Milwaukee's defense. So say like Brooklyn's offense, say it's a 10. The Bucks offense is like a 9. Then say the Bucks defense is say a 10. Brooklyn's defense is like a 6. So that's where I'm at. That's my mindset. That's what I'm thinking with this series is the Bucks have tough, hard-nosed, willing defenders, athletic defenders, strong defenders, tall defenders. I mean, the Bucks have 2 guys that they could put in that could actually 3 that could defend 1 through 5. If you have Drew, PJ, and Giannis on the floor at the same time, all 3 of those guys could defend 1 through 5.
I'm going to give credit to Chris Middleton because he's become a pretty damn good defender, and he's a damn good rebounder. I see him grab some tough rebounds, dude. He goes in there with the big boys and mixes it up.
Dude, game 3, he dove on the floor for a loose ball. I was like, is that
Middleton
right there?
I ain't gonna lie. I'm making a little fan
he's
of him. He's
playing, what I would say for Chris Middleton is he's playing inspired basketball. He really looks like
that's what it comes down to.
He looks different than he has, especially last year to this year. Basically, where I'm at with the Bucks is you take the bubble and you just throw it away. Just get rid of it. That's the same way that I approached the Brewers season from last year. Like, they played 60 games. Like, just throw it away.
Yeah.
So when you look at Chris Middleton, I've called him, as far as the postseason is concerned, as he's the Celtics killer. And that's been true for the postseason. But now going into this series, you look at the way that the roster is set up, this team, it's really a complete team. They have offense, they have a superstar, they have playmakers, they have shooters, they have defense, they have depth. The Bucks are a pretty deep team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we lost one of our starting guys. He slid Pat in, and the Bucks barely missed a step. And honestly, Pat Connaughton is capable of giving you a lot of the similar things that Dante gives you. I think you lose a little bit on defense going from Dante to Pat, but he still gives you the hustle. He gives you the effort. He gives you some good three-point shooting. I mentioned it 2 weeks ago.
Offense and you lose defense. That's what I think.
I mean, I gave it to you 2 weeks ago. The players that Pat Connaughton shot a higher three-point percentage, and James Harden was among them. Pat Connaughton shot a higher three-point percentage in the regular season than James Harden did.
Harden shot 36%.
And Pat Connaughton was in 38s. So, I mean, you don't lose a lot shooting, if anything, and he's going to give you that same effort. There was game 1 in the first 4.5 minutes that Dante had 4 rebounds in the first 4.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then people are like, oh, Dante only had 3 points. Why is he starting? We should be starting Forbes. There's a reason that Bryn Forbes is not the starting shooting guard, even with Dante out. And that is because Bryn Forbes is feasting on second unit defenders. You're going to tell me that Landry Shamet is going to all of a sudden out of nowhere just lock up Bryn Forbes? That he's not going to be staring at Giannis being like, man, this dude's just dunking on everybody, and he's not going to take a step towards Giannis?
Or that Bruce Brown dude. It's going to be one of those two. Bruce Brown's okay. He's a
decent rebounder for a guard, but none of them are going to be like, oh, Giannis is going to drop 50 on us. Like, I'm going to stay attached to Bryn Forbes.
I got some stats on Giannis whenever you're ready, buddy.
So, I mean, I guess my keys for this series is just to let the big three do their thing. Let them get theirs. Just keep a lid on Joe Harris because he's their X factor. If he's scoring in the 20 points a game area, that's where the Bucks can get into trouble. That's what happened in game 1 of the regular season series, is he scored like 25 points. Mm-hmm. And then games 2 and 3, he wasn't really much of a factor, and the Bucks won those 2 games. So that's where I'm at. And then, like I said, the Bucks offense is closer to Brooklyn's offense than Brooklyn's defense is to the Bucks defense. So go ahead.
Okay, for 1, I agree with all your points. 2, got some stats on Giannis. Giannis is averaging 39.7 points per game against Brooklyn this season. That is the highest since Kobe Bean Bryant did against the Suns, I believe, in 2006 when Kobe was averaging 42 against them when he played them in the playoffs. Yeah, that's nasty. So, of the top 3 defenders that guarded Giannis the most in one-on-one possessions, 2 of them are on the Nets, in DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. Giannis also, I believe he tied or he just led the NBA in most distance given up by a primary defender in a single matchup. He averaged 10 feet of space when he played the Nets. 10 feet. So they're just basically like, okay, shoot it. And obviously he's scoring 39 points, so I would think he's shooting pretty good, Shooting pretty good percentage. Along with Giannis scoring 39, Chris Middleton is averaging 25 against the Nets this year. So it's not just Giannis getting his points. It's Middleton's got to be able to keep that consistency up. And I think one of the keys, because we're not going to be able to stop them all, but one of my keys is Drew Holiday neutralizing Kyrie's effect on the game. Because he can make it tough for Kyrie on defense, He can get some turnovers on him, force him into some bad shots, bad passes. But Drew has also got to score on Kyrie. He's also got to make Kyrie defend.
He can baby him.
Yeah.
Drew can baby him
down low and take him out to the back shit just like they did back in the 60s and show him what's up down there, Now I'm going to ask you a question. So what is the most important part? This isn't my question. It's like an initial question, like an initiation question. What is the most important part about defense? This is what I learned a long time ago. My dad taught me this. He told me the most important part about defense.
I would say, for me, limiting your opponent to one shot.
So that involves rebounding, correct?
It does.
Yes, that is what my dad taught me a long time ago. So, what would you say if I told you a number 64.9%? Do you think that's a good percentage?
It depends. If it's a field goal percentage, yes. If it's a free throw percentage, no.
It is actually a defensive rebound percentage, which is the lowest of all teams in the playoffs. That is what the Nets had against the Celtics. The Bucks offensive rebounding was second in the playoffs at 33.6%. With that 33.6% offensive rebound percentage, they scored a league high in the playoffs of 18.8 points per game on second chance points. You know who was first in offensive rebounds?
Phoenix?
Celtics.
Wow.
The Celtics had a 35.1% offensive rebound percentage. That is my number one key, and that is why the Bucks will win this series. The Bucks were beating up a physical Miami team. What are they going to do to this softest Charmin Brooklyn Nets team that's looking to just get the ball out of bounds and shoot a three-pointer?
Wow. That's
I knew you were gonna like that. I was doing research.
Dude, that's that 33%. That's 1 in 3 missed shots for the Bucks is resulting in an offensive rebound.
And you know what happens a lot of times on those offensive rebounds?
Damn.
We get open 3-point shots.
Yes.
That's what happens a lot in those offensive rebounds.
Yep.
You don't give a good team like the Bucks second chances.
Second chances. That's the same. That's exactly when you asked me that question. That was the first thing I thought of is to make Brooklyn be one and done. Yes. Because they have shooters. So you give them more chances to score without getting chances yourself. That's going to hurt.
So with that being said, Chris, Giannis, Drew, Brooke, everybody's got to crash the boards. And I saw a rebound by Pat the other day, and I was like, oh, my God, that was a great rebound. I even texted
He did. Yep.
The Bucks have to control the defensive rebounds. We have to control the boards. Defense, offense, both. We have to control the boards. We have to be the more physical team and make our presence felt.
I'm going to look it up right now. I'm going to look up where Brooklyn finished during the regular season as far as rebounding is concerned. Because I know the Bucks were going back and forth with the Utah Jazz like almost the entire season for the number one rebounding team in the league. So I want to look and see where Brooklyn finished.
Got it. I had it.
You got it?
Yes. The Brooklyn Nets were 14th in rebounding. So they're middle of the road in rebounding. Yep. They were 7th in assists, and they were literally 0.1 better than us on defense. We allowed 114.2. They allowed 114.1. But obviously we see in the playoffs, the Bucks have turned it up on defense. We've stiffened up on a lot of stuff. And I want to say something about I mentioned it a little bit before about how the Nets are kind of trying to defend Giannis because that's the main thing, right? When you face the Bucks, you're like, how do we stop this guy? Just like for the Bucks against the Nets, I think the main focus is going to be how do we stop James Harden, not Durant, because Durant's going to get his. But when you allow Harden to get 35 and 15 assists, that makes it very hard to beat them. So I would say we slow down Harden, we let Durant do his thing, and we let Drew just go completely nuts on Kyrie and figure that out. Other than that, I'll tell you what, they ain't stopping us down low. Me and you talked about this all the time about how they have no post presence. They have nothing to stop us in the paint, and they have nothing to score on us in the paint. With Big Brook Lopez down there with the verticality rule, he's the best in the league at it. I'll say that shit to the day I die. Brook Lopez is the best at exploiting the verticality rule. He really is, dude. He's just right here all day. Come in here, hit me. I don't care because he's a big man. He can take that, and he's killing people down low. I don't know how are you gonna defend the Bucks right now? They're gonna want to throw one of those two small guys on Giannis, and Brook Lopez is gonna go down there. He's gonna get some dump downs. He's gonna dunk on you, and then you're gonna worry about that. You're gonna pack it in like the Heat did Game 1, and we're gonna pass it out. And Bryn Forbes is gonna come off the bench. He's gonna hit 4 3-pointers. Now you're screwed. I don't know how you're stopping the Bucks right now. That is the most amazing thing about the Bucks. I shared that ESPN thing linked to you. I don't know if you got a chance to read it, but there's a quote in there from Giannis, and he talks about why he loves this Bucks team. They can score 80 points, they can win. They can score 140 points and win. They can win with offense, they can win with defense. They can score 60 points in the paint one day. They can score 20, they can hit 25 3-pointers the next day. This Bucks team is honestly, that's to your point about how complete they are. We can beat you so many ways. Where the Nets are one way and one way only, and it's damn good. I am not going to take away from it. It is damn good. Of all the teams in the playoffs, the Nets ran the most isolations. I believe it was 100 and now I'm paraphrasing, so do not quote me on this. I believe it was 175 possessions of isolation calls, and I believe 168 of the 175 were of the big three. Which, why wouldn't you, right? That
sounds about right. Yeah, I mean that's what you got them for.
Yeah, that's what you got them for. I mean, they play one way, and that's how they win. They're like, all right, you're gonna go crazy. You're gonna do your thing. You're gonna do your thing. We're gonna take turns. It's kind of like a merry-go-round, and we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna figure it out. Where the Bucks can beat you 100 different ways. All right, man.
And we didn't even spend any time on Bobby Portis in this discussion of how the Bucks can beat you with offense.
And you know what? We got something in the works, but if Bobby Portis goes crazy, I'm about to go crazy next week. I'm telling you right now, man. And my official prediction for this series is Bucks in 6, not just from my man Brandon Jennings. The real reason I think it is because I think the Bucks are going to steal either game 1 or 2, probably game 1. I think they'd surprise the Nets game 1. I think they're going to protect home court, so we'll have a 3-1 lead. I think the Nets will have their backs against the wall. They'll win game 5. And then we will come back to the 4-1-4. We'll send those bitch boys home with a loss, move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll just be riding high. This is the Bucks year this year, man. It really feels that way. Feels like we're a team of destiny almost. To me, at least. It really feels that way.
So, of all of the first-round series, the Bucks were the first to advance and the only team to sweep. The Bucks were the only team to sweep in the first round of the playoffs. Every other team has lost at least one game.
Yep.
The Lakers-Suns series is still going, and I'm hoping the Suns win that series so that Jake gets another pie to the face. So,
dude, I'm hoping to with that. Watch the Lakers fans meltdown, dude. Oh my goodness.
Dude, it's rough for LA right now because the Clippers aren't doing any better.
If the Clippers are your hope, then you got no hope. That's what I'm gonna say.
It's pretty rough for LA because both of those teams are like, should we blow it up? Like, if we lose, should we blow it up? Start over? So, like I said, if you're watching from the Wisconsin Sports Heroics page, I would encourage you to check out Wisco Fanatics. Follow us over there so you can look at the pie bet brackets that Jake and I put together. It extended into some of the other sports groups that we're in because of some of the predictions that we made. So we have some other people in on some of these pie bets based off of what these series have become. But we are going to move on now, and we are going to welcome in Curtis, and we are going to talk about some combat sports / MMA boxing updates, and we are going to welcome in Curtis. Curtis, how you doing?
Doing good, my man. How are you, brother?
I see you got a LaMelo Ball jersey on.
Oh.
I'm just going to say Curtis was hyping him up before he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I'll say that.
Hey, what do you think about that, though? Yeah? No?
Yeah, he'll win it.
Probably.
You think so? Yeah. I was hoping so, man. I'm hoping so, brother. And I got the rookie jersey, too. Let's go. Yeah, I was pretty hyped about LaMelo.
By Lonzo's dog the other day?
I just seen that today, bro.
Yeah.
That was funny as heck. I'm like, God damn. But yeah, it's good to be back, guys. I was just listening to you guys. It's so fun just to listen to you guys and how passionate you guys are about the sport. So it's great to be back. Hoping to drop some good knowledge, some content, some upcoming fights that, people can zone into and check out and enjoy. So.
All right, so we'll kick it off right away. I just wanted to ask you. My main thing was we're going to talk to you the first Wednesday of every month. So between now and the first Wednesday in July, what are some upcoming fights that people can be looking forward to?
Yeah, so combat sports is crazy right now with all the promotions that we talked about on the last show. They continue to do different shows, different tournaments. We got some boxing matches coming up. That's the biggest, that's probably what people have been asking about the most is the boxing matches. So yeah, this Sunday you can tune in. I think it's on Showtime Boxing. You can tune into Mr. Logan Paul versus Floyd Mayweather. So that will be not a thriller fight. So We'll get into that a little bit. We'll touch base about Triller. So that's this weekend. There's a lot coming up. What do we got? Here we go.
His brother's got a fight coming up too, right?
Yeah. So I think that's August 28th.
Okay.
We'll get into that a little bit, but yep. So we got Logan, and then we got Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori 2 for the championship belt. That will be June 12th, and I think that one's actually in Phoenix, Arizona. So that'd be super cool. And I think co-headlining is Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards, which is going to be a really good fight. Leon Edwards has been on, I think, 8 or 9 fight win streak in a row here. So he's really looking to try to cash in that title opportunity. So that'll be a good one. If you guys know anything about the Diaz brothers, they always show up to fight, man. You can always count those guys in. That's what's great about them. Doesn't matter if you get a couple losses in a row; those guys are going to show up, and you're going to want to watch that fight. So, so that's a good one. And then it looks like June and July is pretty packed. July 17th, we have Yair Rodriguez versus Max Bless Holloway. That'll be a really good one. We got TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen, late July 24th. And then moving into August, I think that's when Jake and Tyron Woodley fight. And then I think we got some bare knuckle boxing coming up late July with Ray Salucevic and Paige Van Zandt. So a lot of good fights. We can kind of touch base on those if you guys want. Get some of the questions out of the way. But is that all you have for me, Shickers?
No, I got a question.
What's up?
Well, we got a comment in here from Tish. He says he's got a pay-per-view
Can I
fight
look at that?
for us. No, you can't see it. Only me and
Here, let me put it on here for you.
All right.
Jake, don't say anything. Let me just put it on here for Curtis. Let me just put it on here for him. All right, Curtis, read it at the bottom.
Curtis and Brennan versus Jake and I. Oh, come on. Tish, come on. Tish has tried that game. He knows better than that. But I'm definitely down with that. And Jake's been there too. It was Jake and Tish versus Brendan and I is what it said.
Yep, that's what it is.
Let's do it. Tag team right after the Eddie Open this summer.
I will videotape and commentate. I am in.
Right on the 18th green.
I'm there. I will be there.
All right.
So
is Tish bring the brass knuckles so we can use them on Curtis so we can double team Brennan. But I have a good fight that's going to be coming up in July. It's going to be my girlfriend versus my daughter. That's going to be a really good one. My daughter's going to be born next month, so I am cheering for my daughter to win. I think she's going to win that fight.
I think
she's already beats the crap out of my girlfriend every day, so that's pretty fun for me to listen.
You know what's funny about that, Jake, is that whoever wins that, you still lose.
No, dude. Dude, my daughter is a fighter. I'll tell you what. I'll come home from work, right? And I'll just be like, "Hey, little mama, how you doing?" I'll talk to her in the belly. "How you doing?" She goes, wham, wham. She starts kicking. Get the hell away from my home. I'm like, all right, chill out, dog. I'm just trying to say hi.
Dude, the first Wisco Fanatics show after Jake's daughter is born, Jake's going to show up. His hair is going to be all over the place, and he's just going to be...
I am going to have the biggest bags under my eyes because I am then going to become a stress ball. It's going to be a great time.
Dude. It'll be good, man. You'll be a great dad, dude.
For me, I ain't fit to fight Curtis. You got to take Curtis. I'll take Big B. Oh, man.
That's hilarious. I love messing with you guys, though. God, Tish. Tish always wants to smoke, man.
It sounds like, Curtis, that we're going to have some good stuff to recap with you in the first Wednesday of July. We'll have those fights that you're talking about now. And then it seems to me that, based off of what you're saying, that the summertime is almost a bigger time for these bigger fights to be happening. Would you say that that's true, or is there more fights during the fall or Christmas time? Like, we know Christmas is a big NBA holiday. This year there's going to be NFL on Christmas. March Madness is obviously reserved for the NCAA tournament. College football is basically through the fall. So what would you say for combat sports is summer when the bigger draws are?
I wouldn't say that in general. Yeah, you're going to see that more. You're not going to see big fights when, March Madness is going on, or, these big events, the Super Bowls and stuff like that. You're never going to see big fights overlap each other like that. You know, the UFC's got 500 fighters on their roster, and they're constantly cycling through, you know, even some legends they're letting go because they have to keep booking fights and get these people, you know, fulfilling their contracts. You know, if they say, hey, here's a 3-fight contract in 2021, you know, you got to find a way to fulfill that. So it's almost every weekend, to be honest with you, there's some big fights. So I wouldn't say that in general, but they do, you're going to see them kind of steer away from other big events because the pay-per-view draws and stuff like that. If people are watching, you know, one sporting event and not tuning into their pay-per-view, you know, that's what they really bank on to bring their money on. Especially right now with the COVID, you know, they're getting back to a little bit more packed houses, but they're still not getting a draw from the ticket sales and stuff like that. So pay-per-view is big for them right now. So timing is everything when they're booking these fights. It's just, with all these promotions, we got UFC, Bellator, PFL, One Championship, LFA. I'm sure I'm missing one, but you know they all got hundreds and hundreds of fighters on their payroll that they gotta get out there so they can make that money. You know, money makes money, so they're putting on shows constantly. So I wouldn't say there is a direct time. But the summertime's an awesome time, man. Everybody's starting to look, you know, wanting to have fun, wanting to do something exciting, wanting to go to these events. So I think right now with everything opening up, it is great timing, getting people out there. People are just looking for something to do. And what better to do than go out on a Saturday night, hang out with some friends and watch some fights. So
watch somebody get punched in the face, lose a cup of tea. I agree, man. It's a great time for it too.
So, yeah.
Summertime is also, too, when you get that kind of lull in the middle of the baseball season where it's like, okay, you know, the opening day, you know, has faded away a little bit, but it's not quite time for the trade deadline and all-star break and playoff runs. So that factors in. And then,
yeah,
you know,
no doubt.
to your point about, you know, it's about the money. That's definitely where the Paul brothers come into it because they're such divisive personalities. Like, you either, you know, see what they're doing and you love it and respect it, or you see what it's like, God, I can't wait for him to get punched in the face and knocked out. Like, I can't wait for these guys to get knocked out. Like, they are totally fine with you being on either side of it because they're
money
raking in cash. Logan Paul could probably step into this match with Floyd Mayweather, get punched in the face, knocked out completely cold, and have his ice packs wrapped in a $100 bill for the next week.
Yeah,
like
for the next 10 years.
That's what they're.
You're
that's
exactly
what
right, man.
Is because it's getting attention. So that's why I wanted to ask you about that because, you know, these are basically professional internet people versus what I would say is probably the greatest boxer of all time, especially as far as record is concerned. But people are going to watch it either A, because they want to see if, you know, like an amateur boxer can knock out Floyd Mayweather, or if this guy that people don't like is going to get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather.
Here's the problem before you talk, Curtis. A lot of people hate Mayweather. And Jake Paul, the Paul brothers, are so unlikable that people are cheering for Mayweather. That is insane to me. But anyways, you can go. Who do you think's going to win, first of all?
Well, which one? Logan and Floyd?
Yeah. We'll save the Jake Paul one for when we get closer to it. If you're going to be joining us the first Wednesday of every month, we'll save that for when it's coming up more. But let's talk about the one that's happening this month.
Yeah. So this Sunday it goes down. So I think the way I like this setup a little bit more. Jake Paul was more the Triller guy. Triller is a promotion that puts on fights where they really kind of make up their own rules and they kind of can present it however they want, right? And they get a lot of traction from that, just from like the era that we're in. But yes, you guys are 100% right. Floyd Mayweather is the greatest boxer of all time. The man owns, I think, 9 skyscrapers in New York City. He's got money like crazy. But it's to your point, people pay to watch you lose. People pay to watch you win. People pay forever to watch Floyd Mayweather just lose, get his butt whooped, and that was it. People paid because they love Conor McGregor. Why do you think Conor is one of the best strikers out there, but overall gifted at the 155-pound division, he's not the best one. He may be top 5, top 10. I wouldn't even be willing to say that, but people do pay to see you lose, and that's why Floyd was so successful in that. And that's why the Paul brothers are having success. They basically mirror and matched what Floyd did at the highest level, and they just repeated it. So with this fight, Sunday, the biggest difference between the Paul brothers is you look at Logan Paul going, he's 0-1. He lost to a YouTuber. Okay. Now he's going to go up against 49 in Conor McGregor. So 50-0. Floyd Mayweather, the best boxer of all time. What that shows me is that Logan's really in it for just make some money, man. I don't blame him. Not at all. I don't blame him. They're smart businessmen. But
and to a really quick point, I give him some credit for being willing to just step into the ring with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. He is significantly bigger guy, but it really doesn't matter, I don't think, when you're worried about the punching power, but you're not going to have to worry about the grappling against the cage, the wrestling, the control to take the gas tank away and then stand Floyd back up and then now have a better chance to pick him apart. But with Logan versus Jake, Logan's going in there against Floyd to make money. If he were trying to be serious and make this a career out of it, I don't see why you would fight Floyd Mayweather when you're 0-1 to a YouTuber.
Straight to the top.
Yeah. So you look at Jake Paul, they're kind of working him up to actually probably be a serious contender in the boxing world. I'm not going to lie to you. The kid's good. He's got good hands. He's tough. So you can see the complete two different avenues with the Paul brothers. So yeah, this Sunday, it's going to be Floyd. I think his speed, his feints. So a feint's basically just getting you to react. So a lot of these things they'll do to get you to do this or do this, and he'll set him up with it. His speed, his timing, everything, all the years put into it. And I can tell you, I think he's been training for it. Some say Floyd didn't train for Conor. I don't know. He still looked pretty good in that. They kind of drug that out a little bit longer than I think. I think Floyd could have probably put Conor away a little bit earlier than he did. But yeah, I got Floyd. I'd put all my money on Floyd Mayweather, even with the size difference. And the antics, I don't know if you guys seen some of the antics. I'm sure you did, building up to the fight. I think it was at the Dolphin Stadium when Jake Paul took Floyd's hat and ran with it. They were, calling him out about some of his dirt and stuff. It's a different animal, man. You can play basketball, play football. You don't play fight. These are real fighters. Floyd's a real fighter, man, and they just really don't play those games, man. So I think Floyd might drag him into the second, third, fourth, maybe fifth round and kind of just pick him apart and then take him out. So with the reach advantage of Logan, I see Floyd getting on the inside, popping and moving, using his movement, because he's one of the best defensive fighters of all time. He just doesn't get hit. And when Floyd's fighting these smaller guys throughout his 50-0 career, those guys are a lot faster. Their technique is pinpoint. Nothing's loaded up to where you can see it. It's just boom. So to think that Logan's going to land that big shot, I just don't really see it. I think Floyd's going to see these coming with the lack of technique. He's going to see the wind up in his punches. He's going to see a lot of that. So Floyd's going to be able to stick and move, get in, hit a couple shots, and then get off the line and continuously do that. So I got Floyd. I'd bet everything I got on Floyd Mayweather on that fight. But yeah, there's just no way, man. I don't see it. There's a puncher's chance in every fight, but there's just levels to it. And I only speak candid on it because I've been there before where, I've done well and then I go against different guys and it's just a whole different game, man. It's just probably you guys could compare it to the sports you guys played and stuff like that. And so there's just different levels to it. When you play somebody that's really good, high Q in basketball, it's just different, man. You're just shocked by how different it is.
Well, and that's a thing that goes into really any sport, is that you can play a guy who's physically gifted and you can play against a guy who's mentally gifted. So you can play against, like, for example, we just talked about Kevin Durant for 5 minutes about how his size and his shooting and all that factors in. And then you can look at a guy, say you look at John Stockton, for example. Like, he's probably one of the top 3 point guards of all time in the NBA. And if you looked at him, you see him wearing some dad jeans and some New Balance and be like, that guy probably doesn't even play basketball. Like,
you'd have no clue.
So there's levels to it. So I mean, you can do that with pretty much any sport. Like, I mean, like if you look at, say, Bartolo Colon, he's a real big dude, but he could throw a baseball fast, and he'll hit an occasional home run. Or football, and they showed the picture of Quinn Miners from UW Whitewater, who practices with his jersey up around right here, and he just leaves his whole belly out. And it shows him with his big old beer belly, and then standing next to him is in the different picture is DK Metcalf,
right,
who's like 99% muscle, and you can see every single muscle and vein that he has in his arms and his abs, and you can see every single muscle he has. And then the caption on that picture is, the crazy thing about the NFL is that these two guys play the same sport.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's crazy, man. It really is crazy. It is absolutely, and it's mental just as much as it is physical. You got to be smart out there. I mean, yeah, LeBron's a gifted athlete, one of the most gifted athletes of all time, but his mentality and his education in that game is just next level. So, yeah, that's a great comparison, man. I think that is absolutely 100% right. And maybe that helps your guys' followers here kind of understand, kind of the things I'm talking about. Because sometimes I do get a little bit out of pocket where I'm just going off on what I know, and it is hard to relate it. So, yeah, that's a good one, man. That's no doubt. But I got Floyd, and I'm assuming everybody else has got Floyd. If you got a lot of money, I'm assuming, actually, I don't know that Logan's the underdog, but I would have to assume. So if you were going to bet on it, and you want to try to go crazy with it.
I mean, if you want to make a comparison for yourself, if you would think that Conor McGregor or Logan Paul is the better fighter, I mean, you'd probably say Conor McGregor. I don't think anybody would pick Logan Paul in a fight against Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor couldn't really hold a flame to Floyd Mayweather. So that's what this is. It's, I don't want to say that it's necessarily a money grab, but it is kind of. But it's also. It's entertainment. It's just it's what it is. You're gonna tune in smart because people want to see Logan Paul get knocked out, or you're gonna tune in because, like, what if it happens that Floyd Mayweather just like catches one on the chin, and like his first professional loss is to this dude that used to make YouTube videos? Like, what if that happens?
Right. Yeah. So it's Floyd's a business guy, and so are the Paul brothers. It's both money, Floyd knows what he can do and what he's probably going to do, and he's going to make a huge sum of money to go be the YouTuber. And then Logan's not expected to win, so win-win for him. Yep. He loses, he makes a ton of money. He wins, he makes a ton of money and shocks the entire world. So it's a win-win for both of them. And Floyd is getting a little bit older, but he wouldn't come back if he didn't think he could take him out. So it is, and he's still in top shape. I've been seeing him train and stuff, and I respect people that leave the sport when it's time for you to leave the sport, whether it be boxing, kickboxing, mixed martial arts, any of it. I love to see people hanging up at the right time.
So one last question that I want to ask you, because I'm seeing some kind of back and forth stuff. Is Manny Pacquiao getting another fight?
Oh, I did see something about that. Yeah, I think it might be in the works with Manny Pacquiao. I can't remember who he's.
I don't even remember who they were talking about matching him up with, but I thought I remember seeing that Manny Pacquiao was considering doing another fight.
Yeah, I think he is. I just remember seeing that he's heavily thinking about making that comeback to fight again. So if I remember right, it was a younger guy who's quite a stud, but that's one of those things. Where do you hang it up at? When we talk about mixed martial arts, you talk about Khabib Nurmagomedov, the best 155-pound fighter in the entire world, maybe lost one round throughout his entire career, went 29-0 and wiped the whole division in the UFC, and then decides to hang it up. Could he come back and probably go 40-0? Yeah. I think so. But to see him hang it up, I respect that, to where he's allowing other people in the division that have worked so hard, that are on 8, 9, 10 fight win streaks, the opportunity to become world champion. And when you're champion, you got to be fighting a lot because you can't hold up the division. And so with boxing, it's a little bit different. There's a lot of different divisions and a few different promotions that allow all these different title fights. So, some argue that maybe the UFC should. They're mostly every 10 pounds division. As you get up a little bit higher, they kind of split in about 15, 20 pound difference. Some people argue that they should, make the gaps a little bit shorter to allow more world titles. So, allow more pay-per-views, allow more people to make a name for themselves in the sport, allow people to probably perform better because of where, your body falls in that weight division. Is it hard for you to get down there? And it hurts a lot of people in the long run for cutting all that weight. So boxing is a little bit different, where they have a lot more opportunities, but I love to see someone hang up the gloves when it's time to hang up the gloves. It's just a sweet, sweet story. Anderson Silva, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. I think he lost his last 10. It's sad to see, and now he's trying to go box. I want to say maybe they'll. I don't want to say who he's going to box him, but yeah, it's just like, Jesus, dude, when you call it, have you made enough money? And you want people to make money. I want everybody to make as much money as they possibly can. Floyd, I don't know if he needs it, but I'm sure he spends a lot, and the Paul brothers, and some of these, Ben Askren doing that fight. It's like, go get your money, man. You deserved it. You earned it. But sometimes it's time to, and you got to make your money while you can and then hang it up. So.
All right, so we will. That'll be some homework for you for July. The first Wednesday of July is to find out if Manny Pacquiao is going to have another fight.
I got you. Yeah,
we will see you then. First Wednesday of July. Thanks.
Yes,
for joining
sir,
us
my
again.
man.
And yeah, we got some homework for you. So we will talk to you in about a month.
Yes, sir.
Right, cool,
Keep it up, boys.
I was having technical issues over here, man. My bad, man.
I was like, damn, Jock don't give a damn about your boy over here. God. No, keep it up, boys. I love listening. You guys are awesome. Your passion is super cool. So you're kind of sparking my interest and maybe start my own thing on the side, but also be here for you guys. So we'll kind of keep an eye on it. You guys are kind of helping me get my feet wet with it, and I appreciate it, boys. I'll see you guys soon. August. I'll see you guys in August.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we'll do a live episode. Screw it.
Dude, we should.
Hey, we're going to go live from the Eddie Open. I already talked to my dad.
All right. I'm down for whatever, boys. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right. Talk to you later, Curtis.
All right. Later, boys.
Oh, yeah, man.
Are you good now? Are you back?
I think I should be all right.
All right. You're lucky because there is one tangent that I'm going to go on at some point in this episode.
What's that?
I'm going to get there. So just let's talk about, we're going to move into the Brewers and we're going to talk about the offense first. And after we talk about the offense, I'm going to go on a little tangent. So let's talk first about the Brewers offense. Unfortunately, we do have a little bit of Brewers news with that. Lorenzo Cain is back to the injured list. It sucks, but I mean, he's 35, so he's not getting any younger, and he plays hard. So he's leaving it all out there. And unfortunately, he's back on the 10-day injured list. It's a hamstring issue, which is the same one he was dealing with the spring training, was dealing with it early in the year when he got put on the injured list, and it's flared up again. Unfortunately, it sounds like it could be longer than just a 10-day stint. Obviously not long enough to put him on the 60-day injured list, but enough that he was put on the 10-day, and it sounds like it's going to be a longer than that issue. I will say the Brewers are doing well as far as the first 50 games of their season were concerned. They had a gauntlet of games. I mean, they played the Dodgers, they played the Padres twice, they played the Cardinals, they played some really tough games in the first half of the season, and dealing with all the injuries that they dealt with. To come out of those first 50 games at 25-25, I mean, that's really not a bad place that you could be in. Right now, actually, today, a article just came out from Bleacher Report that the Milwaukee Brewers are actually picked to win the Central Division. The Bleacher Report has the Brewers listed at 50.3% to win the NL Central.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a pretty decent place to be. 8-3 since the Adames trade. I mean, he's a stud. I'm really liking him. I might have to get him the Adames jersey.
I liked watching him and Miggy mix it up at first base the other day.
So they split with San Diego. They swept the Nationals, and now they're 1-1 with the Detroit Tigers. They play, I think they have a 3 or 4 game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who have lost like 14 games in a row, I think now. So they're in rough shape. But what are you seeing from the Brewers offense?
Well, I see Garcia hitting home runs. Love that guy. I see Urias. I believe that's how you say his name. Urias. I see him, hitting a nice walk-off the other day against the Tigers. I mean, he's starting to get things together. He's still a little iffy on the defense because Hira made a really nice play the other day where Urias kind of threw it high and Keston had it up, and he had a nice little vertical on that one. But as far as offense, man, we're starting to starting to score some runs, and it's starting to show in our starters' records because they should have a lot more wins. Woody, he should have a lot more wins. I just think we're starting to come along. I think we're starting to hit our stride, and I think Bleacher Report sees that. But yeah, Garcia, man, that's the man. And obviously Narvaez That home run he hit the other day against Washington was a no-doubter, in my opinion. That was a clean hit.
So, yeah, and then, you throw in Tyrone Taylor into that, too. He was 2 for 4 last night, and he hit 2 home runs.
Yeah.
So you mentioned already 2 of the 3 guys that I brought up, or that I wanted to bring up for guys that were picking up their hitting. Luis Urias, Willie Adames, and then Colton Wong, who was actually 8 for 26 in his last week of at-bats, and he hit 2 home runs yesterday.
Dude, Colton Wong is a stud. That was a very good signing.
Between him and maybe Narvaez, those are probably our 2 best players so far this season.
I can see that.
Yelich is kind of starting to pick it up a little bit. He's 4 for his last 19, but he has also drawn 5 walks in there. So for the last week, his on-base percentage is .375. So he's getting on base a little over 37% of the time. So, while his batting average may not look great because he's batting just a little bit over 200, he is on base a lot. So that's something worth mentioning. You brought up kind of a point about Luis Urias. His defense, I would say it's improving. I wouldn't say it's better yet. You made a really good point, and I wanted to bring that up about Keston Hiura, is that Keston Hiura is actually playing some pretty good defense at first base. Like, he struggled at second base partially because he's got to range both ways and he's got to make the throws. But since he's been playing first base, from what I've seen from him, he is actually playing a pretty decent first base defense. So I definitely wanted to give Keston Hiura some credit. Now, as far as his offense is concerned, he's 1 for 23 since being recalled from AAA. And this is where I'm going to get off into a little bit of a tangent here, because so one thing I'm going to mention before I start is basically Keston Hiura is going to keep playing because Daniel Vogelbach is the only other option at first base, unless you consider Travis Shaw an option. But Keston Hiura is going to keep getting chances, even though he's struggling at the plate. But this is where I'm going to go on a tangent really quick. And it's really sad that I even saw this comment. But I know I texted you about this yesterday, and it's something worth mentioning. I know we talked about it just a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Brewers' hitting struggles. And I mentioned a tweet from Martin Maldonado's wife. Martin Maldonado used to play catcher for the Brewers. His wife made a tweet that said, players don't need you to tell them that they're struggling at the plate. They know. And the comment that I saw made me so mad. So if you don't know, Keston Hiura's mother is dealing with a type of lymphoma. So she's dealing with cancer and the treatments and stuff associated with that. When Keston first got sent down to AAA, he was able to go and see his mom, which kind of raised his spirits a little bit. And then he was in AAA and he was mashing. And he's back to Major League Baseball and he's struggling. So maybe it is a situation where sending him back down gets him a chance to see his mom more, and that gets his confidence back up. The comment, so somebody talked about Keston Hiura in one of the Brewers groups that I'm in, and I commented and I said, I think the stuff that's going on with his mom might be affecting him mentally, because we're all people. The tag says it right here. Athletes are humans too. Like, if your mom has cancer, I don't care how much money you make, it's going to affect you. So the comment that I saw was Keston Hiura is not paid to worry about his mother. And it was probably one of the most heartless things that I have seen on a sports comment, post, whatever. I mean, we dealt with all of the Black Lives Matter things last year in the bubble. And it's a totally fair thing to bring up. Racial justice is a fair thing to bring up. But to say that somebody shouldn't care about what's going on with their mom because they're paid a lot of money to play a game, I'm sorry, cover your kids' ears, but that's bullshit. I don't care if you make $1 trillion. Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon, if his mom had cancer, pretty sure that he wouldn't care that he owns Amazon. You're going to tell me that Keston Hiura, I'm pretty sure he's still on his rookie deal, so he's probably making I don't know, probably right around $1 million this year. You're going to tell me that he cares more about his $1 million than his mom? No. You can't tell me that somebody dealing with this, and this is something that Jake and I are going to talk about when we move on to some other projects that we have working on, is mental health in professional athletes, because it's a thing. It's professional athletes aren't just happy because they make money. Money is not happiness. Money does not buy happiness. That's why I'm saying, you really think that Keston Hiura cares that he's making $1 million this year more than he cares about his mom who's going through cancer treatment?
He's not even making $1 million. He's making $562,000.
And you're gonna say that he's not paid to worry about his mom. I'm sorry, that was the most heartless thing that I've ever seen anybody comment on a sports post.
That I'm having a hard time not. I'm gonna have a hard time not cussing, buddy. Sorry. That is absolutely terrible. We live in a country now. I'm not trying to get political, but we live in a country now where everybody feels like they have to fight for equality, and right now June is known as Pride Month, and you see the NFL changing their stuff, and the Badgers did it, and the Bucks just released new T-shirts. My girlfriend really likes them, so she might buy one, but that's besides the point. We live in a country where everybody feels like they have to validate themselves, and in this day and age with social media where likes is what gets people to feel validated, and money, makes people feel validated. And Keston Hiura makes a lot of money. He makes $500,000. I don't give two shits how much money I make. If my mom or my dad or God forbid my daughter, when she's old enough, or she comes out, if they have problems and they're dying or they're struggling, I don't care how much money I'm making, man. That's not what I'm worried about. To be completely honest, I feel terrible for Hiura, man. I mean, my mom is healthy, but my mom gets sick every once in a while. But I'm not trying to compare it, but I've lost some pets, and I've lost grandparents, and I've lost some of my classmates, that I went to school with and I've known since I was a little kid, and that's hard enough to deal with that. And then to mentally, go to work and act like nothing's wrong. So the person that gave birth to you and fed you and made sure you were okay every day, even though they weren't okay. Because, now that we're grown up, we get to see what our parents went through, man. I literally, when I was 24 years old, I had to work at the place that my dad worked at, which is Kohler, Wisconsin, by the way. If anybody's worked at Kohler, that is shit. That is shit work. This is a real story. After my first day at Kohler, I called my dad and said, thank you. I said, thank you, Dad. Everything you did, man. I couldn't believe that my dad dealt with that environment every single day. That hot, sticky, sweaty, grimy-ass place with all those shitty human beings with their shitty personalities and their shitty attitudes. And he came home to a house with 5 kids. I come home to a house with 1 kid who barely listens, but he's a great kid. I love him. And that stresses me out. And I don't work at Kohler. I do a different job that is physical, but not as physical. So, I guess the point I'm trying to make is athletes are humans too, like the banner says. So if you're going to be a shitty human, I'm going to tell you right now, and I mean this, I don't care if we lose followers. If you're going to be a shitty human and not treat these athletes like people, this isn't the show for you. I'm going to tell you that right now, because, we're all about equal opportunity. We give everybody an opportunity, and I'm pissed off right now. I'm not going to lie. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm pissed. You can go.
So, you brought all that stuff up, the stress, the going to work every day, even though you don't want to, like I know I'm not trying to take anything away from what we do, but I drive a forklift every day. You put soda on shelves every day.
Yeah.
That's not the hardest job in the world. No. You know what's really hard to do? Hit an 85-mile-an-hour curveball.
Yeah, that's just
try to focus on playing against some of the best pitchers in the entire world. Try to play at the highest level of a professional sport. while in the back of your mind, all you're thinking about is like, I hope my mom feels better than she did yesterday. And try to just imagine an amount of money that somebody could pay you to not care about your own mother.
Dude,
there's not a single person, that would be you have baseball practice every day for your entire life, and your mom's driving you to practice, and she's buying you a new glove and supporting you and wearing your jersey when you're in college and cheering for you. And you see all the guys, this is a different sport, but at the NFL draft, when their families are all sitting around them, the first person that they all hug is their mom. And you're going to tell me that just because you're paid a lot of money that you shouldn't care about your mom anymore? And that's why you should be a better hitter than you are?
Dude, do you know what my favorite high school football game of all time was? Do you know what my favorite high school football game was? Sophomore year, we played against Two Rivers. And my grandpa was a diabetic. He had both of his legs amputated. He was very sick for a long time. He was in a wheelchair. My favorite football game ever is when my grandpa got to see me play. He got to see me one time. I played like shit. I had like 2 tackles. I didn't do much. But my favorite game, that was my favorite game because after the game, my grandpa came up to me and he wanted a big hug and he told me how proud of me he was. And like my grandpa was a very important person to me, and he ended up dying later that year. So I can't imagine, my mom being sick. How are you supposed to go to work every day and not worry about that, man?
Well, and it's a performance entertainment industry is professional sports. Yeah. So when we talk about it, and it's all baseball's a game, basketball's a game. These are just games that guys are playing. Like, yes, that's true, but it's it's an entertainment industry, so that's why they're paid a lot, because a lot of people watch it. So you're trying to mentally think about baseball as opposed to your family. I can't imagine that there is a single player in any professional sport that said, if you had to choose between continuing to play your sport or choosing one of your family members, that any of them are going to be like, yeah, I'll keep playing basketball in exchange for my mom. Like, it's not a thing. So that's the point of this tangent that I wanted to go on, is that athletes are humans too. Like, that's why I brought up again that tweet from Martin Maldonado's wife, is that these guys know they're struggling. Jackie Bradley Jr. knows he's struggling. He said he's been abysmal at the plate this year. He knows that. He doesn't need 40 dudes on Facebook saying, like, Jackie Bradley sucks. Like, he knows that he's not hitting well. He knows that. He doesn't need you to tell him that. So that's what we're getting at right now, is that just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean that you're not still deserving of respect.
Yeah, you keep going.
All right. So I got a little heavy on you there, but pretty much there's not a whole lot left to talk about. Just kind of breeze through the pitching is basically where we're at. The Brewers still have really good pitching. Yesterday, they went with Eric Lauer to start. They were trying to just kind of give the starting rotation guys a little more rest. That's why Hauser ended up pitching in that game, because he was slated to be the starter, but they were trying to bump everybody back a day. The thing that I wanted to highlight, I know I mentioned this last week when I talked about Corbin Burns, is that the walks that he gave up, they all came around to score. And it happened to Eric Lauer last night in the second inning, because the Brewers were up 1-0 going into the second inning. And the second inning went like this: leadoff home run. So it's 1-1, fine, tie game, whatever, new game. You got an out, then a single and another out. So you had a guy on first base with 2 outs, back-to-back walks. Now you had the bases loaded, still 2 outs, so you can still get out of the inning. But then Miguel Cabrera comes up and he gets a double and he clears the bases. Those 2 walks were the catalyst for the Tigers to basically win the entire game, because after that was a home run. So they got a 5 spot in that second inning just off of the 2 walks extending the inning. So the walks thing is really starting to become kind of an Achilles heel for some of these Brewers starters. Corbin Burns, his last outing, 6 innings, he gave up 6 hits, but only 1 earned run. He had 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Brandon Woodruff was fantastic. on Sunday. He had 7. He outpitched Max Scherzer, which is saying something. Scherzer is one of the best starters in the league. The Brewers swept the Nationals. They won the doubleheader on Saturday right after the Bucks beat the Heat. So Saturday was a really good day for Milwaukee fans after the Bucks completed the sweep, and then the Brewers won both games of the doubleheader.
What did I tell you about Saturday?
What?
What did I tell you what Saturday was?
Wasn't that it was something 100th anniversary?
It was Wisconsin's birthday, baby. We had to win on that day. It was Wisconsin's birthday.
So, and then Freddie Peralta pitched a complete game. He did the 7-inning complete game. 4 hits, only 1 earned run. Freddie Peralta is looking like a real deal. The 3-year extension they gave him before last season to keep him under team control until like 2025 looks like a steal right now with Freddie Peralta. And I'm so glad that he made the starting rotation. And I wrote an article about it going into the season about Freddie Peralta making the starting rotation and him having more pitches available to him that he's been working on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's dealing. So I'm really excited for Freddie Peralta. Eric Lauer was the other piece of the Trent Grisham trade where the Brewers sent Trent Grisham and Zach Davies to San Diego for Luis Urias and Eric Lauer. You go back a week to Eric Lauer's last start. He had 6 innings. 4 hits, only gave up 1 earned run, had 6 strikeouts. So Lauer's got some potential. Now, if we move on to, do you have anything else about the starters? I have a little bit about the bullpen, and then that's about it.
No, I think you pretty much covered everything. I mean, Peralta's been a surprise. I mean, Woody is having a year for the ages, man.
He's really probably top 3 in the NL for pitchers right now.
Yeah. I mean, Burns is taking a step back. You've mentioned that. I mean, he's one of those guys. He's so talented that he's gonna have his ups and downs just like everybody else, right?
He's playing so well that when he has one bad game, like his bad game is he gave up 4 runs.
Right, exactly. So I mean that won't happen very often. It's a rare sight.
That'll skew some of his stats.
I got a weird random stat that has to do with record that I thought was really weird, and I was like, I felt good about one part, but I did not like the other part. Our record at home is 13-15, and our record away is 16-11. I was like, what the? That should be. Wait,
other way around.
Never mind. But we swept the Nationals. We swept the Nationals. We swept the Padres earlier. So like that's 6 of our wins right there. So
I mean the Brewers are 5-3 against, or 5-2 against the Padres this season. So like I'll take that. And they're 3-1 against the Dodgers, so
I'll take that. I mean, I expect the Brewers to win the Central. I do. I think they're going to hit their stride and get things right here.
The Brewers had a tough schedule to begin the year, and now looking at the month of June, there's a lot of winnable games this month. So we'll see. The Brewers just need to beat the teams that they should beat. As far as relievers are concerned, Bobby Wall was activated off the 60-day DL. Injured list. It's not the DL anymore. So for people that freaked out about the Brewers trading JP Feyereisen and Drew Rasmussen, yes, they gave up 2 of their better relievers. Tim Ticker. They gave up 2 of their better relievers. But they have guys coming back. So Angel Perdomo just went on the injured list. He's shown some flashes of being good. Like I said, Bobby Wall was just activated, and then Justin Topa and Dylan File are still on the injured list as well for relievers. So the Brewers have some guys coming into the bullpen that's going to kind of like restock the bullpen, I guess. So the Brewers did trade Feyereisen and Rasmussen, but those guys were both fringe 40-man roster guys. So the fact that we were able to turn those guys into Willy Adames, like, that's awesome. I'm really excited for that. And you mentioned Luis Urias kind of being a little shaky at defense a little bit. He's doing a good job staying in front of the ball. Like, he's not letting errors go past him. He's not letting balls go between his legs. They're not skipping up his arm. Like, he's knocking the ball down. If you watched the last Thursday against the Padres, Luis Urias's glove was actually really big in winning that game. He had 2 putouts in the top of the 10th inning that were both really sharply hit balls. One of them was off the bat of a lefty, and he was kind of playing off the line a little bit where you're not expecting the guy to hit it to you, but he knocked it down and he made the throw. Some of his throws are kind of off. He's pulling Keston Hero where he's got to stretch for the ball. He had the one, like you said, where he had to jump for it. But, I mean, as far as, he's got good range. So he's doing well there. It's just the throwing accuracy that he's got to work on a little bit. The other guy that we got in the Adames trade was Trevor Richards. He's had 2 good outings and 2 bad outings is where we're at with Trevor Richards. And then we'll see what happens when those other guys are activated off the injured list. And then there's still the 2 guys they got from the Braves for Arcia with Patrick Weigel and Chad Saboka. Devin Williams, he's kind of up and down. Suter has been better the last week. He's 4 innings, 4 1/3 innings, only giving up 2 hits, only 1 walk, no earned runs. And then Josh Hader has not allowed an earned run since May 16th. So he's got 7 straight innings, or basically innings, 7 straight appearances without giving up an earned run. So
big time.
I got into this discussion with some people in some Brewers groups that I would rather have a lockdown shortstop. Willie Adames is playing great shortstop, and he's batting really well. They brought back the beast mode thing. I don't know if you saw that between Adames and Colton Wong. They brought back the beast mode versus having some guys in the bullpen, because you use your everyday shortstop a lot more than you use a couple of guys in the bullpen. One other guy that I want to highlight is actually Brad Boxberger. He kind of gets forgotten in the shuffle when you talk about the guys we traded away, and then, what's going on with Williams and Hader. And a guy that gets lost in that shuffle is Brad Boxberger. In the last week, he's got 3 2/3 innings, only giving up 1 hit, 2 walks, no earned runs. So the Brewers, if they can just even tread water in the bullpen and have great starting pitching like they have, and the offense is kind of starting to come around, like, that's a pretty good place to be in, that the bullpen is really the only area that you need to shore up. And it's not even the entire bullpen. It's just the middle relief. So if the Brewers starters can keep their pitch counts under control, and I think Craig Counsell is going to start letting these guys get closer to 100 pitches like he's actually done the last couple games, you're not going to need as many bullpen guys. So for everybody who's complaining that Craig Counsell is taking guys out of games too early, trading bullpen guys should be a sign for you that they're going to let the starters go a little deeper into games. They're going to let these guys pitch 7 innings instead of 6, or get closer to 100 pitches instead of keeping them around 90. Like, that's what some of these trades are signaling to me, as well as the guys that are coming back from the injured list. And then we even gotten into some of the pitchers that are in the minor leagues that could be call-ups later in the season. So that's where I'm at with the Brewers. I feel like we got to get a guest on here to talk about the Brewers soon, and get some insider info of what other people are thinking about the team. But you got anything else Brewers related before we call it a day?
I mean, just looking at the team as a whole, you were breaking everything down with the starters, and if the bullpen can just tread water and the offense is coming around, we see a lot of different people getting clutch hits for us. Just this last week with Jackie Bradley Jr., his first walk-off, Urias. We know that, Kane can come up big for us. It's been a tough year for him injury-wise and at the plate a little bit. Yelich, we know what he can do. But you put this team in the playoffs. That's a dangerous combo for a team, I don't know. We'll see what we can do, man.
Yeah, really quick before we sign off. I mean, that game where Jackie Bradley Jr. had the walk-off hit, Willie Adames had 4 RBI in that game. The Brewers won 6-5.
Yeah. Willie Adames, dude.
By the way, I know I shared the video of Willie Adames' home run that game. Oh, the sound when he hits that ball, that's like the swish in basketball. The sound of him hitting that ball, like just the sound. If I heard that, I would tell you that ball was gone. That was beautiful. He did the big old bat flip. He took the bat, he chucked it. Oh, that was great to watch. I'm loving me some Willie Adames.
All right, I'll tell you. My favorite sports sound, this is kind of a random discussion now. My favorite sports sound is probably a perfect swish. That is amazing sound when they shoot it and it just, that's amazing. But right next to it, maybe tied with it, is when a linebacker or a safety or somebody on a football team perfectly lines somebody up, and you just hear that wah, and you just know that guy on offense just gave a big ugh. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see that and you hear the pads crack, I'm like, oh yeah, baby. I get the itch to go put some on and hit somebody too, you know?
All right, maybe that's a discussion we should have. Maybe that's a poll we should take on the Wisco Fanatics page. We should take a poll of what's your favorite sound in sports. I like that idea. If you don't know, we also made a group for Wisco Fanatics attached to the page, so you can hop in there if you want to post anything in there. If you want to ask us questions about anything, we encourage questions not just about Wisconsin sports, but about any sports. Like we had a question a couple months ago about why we love basketball. We tackled the question of should the NBA get rid of the corner three-pointer? Should the NBA shorten their season? The 10th inning runner on second rule. That's a pretty hot topic of debate right now. All the weird stuff that MLB is testing in the minor leagues. There's all these kinds of things. Like if you have a question about anything sports related, even if it's not sports related and you just want to know what we think about something, like we just went on a 10-minute tangent about how athletes are humans too. That's not just a sports thing. That's a people thing. Now, if you have any kind of question you want to ask us, like please put it in the comments, put it on the Wisco Fanatics page, join the Wisco Fanatics group. Let us know. Comment on YouTube if you have a question. Let us know. We just like having this discussion every week. So
we love the fan interaction, and I guess what I was trying to say is in a roundabout way. We love the fan interaction. We love the questions. It makes it a little bit easier for us. Makes it more fun for everybody else. So please comment on the video. Don't be afraid to say your views, and just be safe.
All right, and then next week will be Friday. Next week Friday will be our next Wisco Fanatics episode. So let's go Bucks, let's go Brewers, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Yes, sir, my man.